All right, how's everybody doing? This is Cheech from the Cheech, Manny, Joe, and Buzz podcast. Got to throw Buzz in there. You're gonna hear Buzz, and he may have his opinions on Zeppelin. And this is the top 10 Led Zeppelin songs of the three of us that we're gonna do, and it's a tough one. Mine might be 13-0, not 10. But how's it going, my co-host, Manner?
Cheech, what's going on, man? Dude, life is good. And I had my work cut out for me for this top 10 because it's very difficult. I wouldn't even, I have my, I just wrote it down for reference, but I don't know. It's hard. It's hard.
Well,
but we had our work cut out for us.
Having Houses of the Holy and Physical, fresh in our heads, it's those two albums I was thinking a lot about. How's it going, Mr. Silkman?
It's going really well. I mean, the one thing that I was thinking about was just wanted to give an appreciation to Manny for being kind of like our musicologist. I mean, interest in different musical genres. He's gotten me reinterested in Dylan after many decades. I get my philosophy, psychology, religion lessons.
Joe, I love so much love for Cheaper Joe. That's such a high compliment.
Manny is the Renaissance.
It's kind of like you're doing for us what Robert Plant and Jimmy Page would talk about, like the blues masters, the Mississippi blues. And,
right.
Jimmy would talk about Link Ray and the rumble and different musical influences. And it's just your enthusiasm and your inquisitive nature makes it a lot of fun to do.
Oh, Joe, thank you. And I have to say, and right back at you, because you guys are like the sparks. Like, I don't know, like you say something and it just sparks my. Cheech will tell you, like he'll say something in his research or mention something, and then it's just chemistry.
Yeah. No,
I love it.
Chemistry. By that great band from Canada. But anyway,
the obligatory Rush reference.
Always. Well, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Rush. So just a couple of things before I'm going to keep this straight. We jump into the show. So we have a few shows out there. Blonde on Blonde is out. 4 hours. We just put out Physical, which was amazing. I really loved that one. That was great. That was a great episode, man. I don't know. Hopefully, a lot of people seen it. We just recorded a Easter show, Jesus Christ Superstar, which was a lot of fun and amazing. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be recording Nashville Skyline by Dylan probably tomorrow. So those are the things coming up. A quick shout out to Potter's Field. And I'd like to say rest in peace, fairly sad, to Danny Pert. Those of you who don't know who he is, he's Neil's brother, who passed away, I think, yesterday. So sad, of the same brain tumor that Neil had. Really sad. Didn't know who he was. I mean, I remember reading about Neil's brother in one of his books, but didn't know anything about him. I looked him up. He is a writer. He's a great poet. He belongs to the League of Canadian Poets. Neil did a couple of forwards in his books. If you want to check him out, www.dannypert.net, and there's a great book of poems called "Ruined by Love," which is a great title that I was reading, and another one called "Not Quite So Handsome." He's very interesting. He's kind of like Neil. He's definitely an influence, on there. I don't know if he was younger or older. So, and the funny story is, Neil worked with him at their father's farming supply store when these two weirdo hippie kids walked in looking for a drummer. And the father said, I think to Neil, "I don't like the looks of those guys. I don't know if you should join them." Isn't that funny? So
wait, was that mentioned in the documentary? I think it was.
Yeah. The father didn't like the way they looked. and he was like, I
I
don't
think I
know.
remember that.
Neil was kind of, not quite a hippie at that point. He didn't have long hair yet, and he was like, reading his Ayn Rand books, smoking his cigarettes. So, um, but yeah. So as far as I got, always a shout out to Potter's Field. Uh, Anybody have any shout outs before we go on?
None for
Joe,
me.
shout out.
I already did my Manny shout out.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm over. I was swept away by what Joe said, so I'm still recovering.
And,
I
and
even get a
Joe,
history lesson.
Joe is a amazing Zeppelin historian, which I love. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you're like, wow, that's why we have Joe on the show. So awesome. So today is going to be our top 10 picks. We did it with Rush with my brother-in-law. Now we're going to do Zeppelin. Just a quick talk. I mean, I don't have to do this, but maybe maybe there's a young kid who has no idea who Zeppelin is, who's watching the show, or somebody that doesn't live on planet Earth. Led Zeppelin, Robert Plant, Jimmy Page, John Paul Jones, John Bonham. Their music was folk, blues, hard rock, and they pioneered heavy metal. The lyrics involved history, Tolkien, poetry, mysticism. Some famous songs: "Stairway to Heaven," "Whole Lot of Love," "Kashmir," "Black Dog," "Rock and Roll." Jimmy Page is the guitar player. He was a session player. He's influenced by blues rock, folk rock, hard rock. He created a very distinctive guitar sound that blended distortion and feedback using different effects to produce a heavy sound. He also played this weird guitar that had two necks on it. I don't know if you guys ever heard about that. I think it's called double neck. Am I right? A double neck guitar.
No, I haven't. I think we have to fact check that.
Yeah, did he say it? Yeah,
Are you sure,
red.
Cheech?
It was red and it had two. A guy named Geddy Lee also played that too, with a guitar and bass on it. Robert Plant.
Getty who? Wait, Getty who?
Geddy Lee. He might be our neighbor soon. I won't go there. No politics, right? So Robert Plant is a powerful vocalist. Great range from soft to melodic passages. Great crescendos, passion, emotion. Great powerful voice. I think one of the greatest frontmen ever in rock and roll. His lyrics were about history, poetry, mysticism. John Bonham, one of the greatest drummers of all time. Massive, incredible drum sound, pure power. He had funky grooves, great solos, and like I said, one of the greatest rock drummers of all time. John Paul Jones, also a session musician before Led Zeppelin, multi-instrumentalist, one of the best bass players of all time. Great keyboard player, doesn't get enough props as a keyboard player. Great arranger, and great composition and writing songs. So Led Zeppelin formed in 1968. Like I said, they blended folk, hard rock, blues, and they were a groundbreaking band known for their powerful sound and iconic songs. Released 9 studio albums, sold over 300 million records. They're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They're one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time, and they invented a sound that nobody had before them. And I thought a lot about that line. There was nobody in the world that sounded like that. And I think we would all agree on that. In that era, 1968, there was Cream, there was Hendrix, but there was Mountain, but nobody sounded. I mean, Humble Pie, you could maybe say for a little bit, but nobody had the power like Zeppelin. I think the greatest rock and roll band of all time, in my opinion.
Cheech, one band rivaled them.
One band.
One
Who's
band, a little band from Rush. From
Oh,
Canada.
that would have been 1974.
Little band from Canada called Rush.
Yeah, that was 1974. But I don't compare. I can't compare
No,
the
no, no,
two.
no. But it's worth. But you know what's funny? It's worth noting for any Rush fans out there that their debut album, people thought it was a new Zeppelin record, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
only musically. I know in Cleveland when they played it, they got a lot of phone calls saying like, "Oh, when did the new Zeppelin come out?" Because I think Zeppelin was in between albums when Rush's first album came out, and you know, obviously like what you doing, it sounds like Heartbreaker, and then the heavy riffs.
Mm-hmm.
They were much heavier than
Mm-hmm.
Zeppelin. I think they had almost a metal sound on Rush's debut album. It was like balls out kind of. Oh, watch the G-rated. But I think definitely you can hear the influence, and I think Alex Lifeson says that is definitely Jimmy Page is one of his biggest influences. You know. And also, Alex Lifeson is sick now. I sent you guys something. He's got stomach. He had operation. Oh man, like what's sad to me is what's gonna happen when these people are gone. There's like I'm not gonna be derogatory towards music that's out there now, but what's gonna be for the kids? What are they gonna have? I don't know. What do you think, Joe? After these bands are gone, what are we gonna what are they gonna listen to? Like, what are my grandchildren gonna listen to? It's rock. Your grandchildren, Manny's grandchildren.
Jack White. I'm sorry, Jack White.
Jack White, yeah. All right, that's cool. Jack
I
White.
really don't know, but I think eventually the music will evolve, and it goes in cycles, and it's
Yeah.
going to cycle back to a hard rock sound. You know, just
It
like
ha-
Guns N' Roses came out, and then the grunge scene in Seattle happened, and
Mm.
it could circle around back to that.
It could, but I almost think it's over, in my opinion, because that time period was so unique. We didn't have this. We didn't have the internet. You had MTV, and MTV broke all these bands, and MTV also created the sounds by playing grunge, by playing metal. Headbangers Ball, 120 minutes. So having MTV created a scene. Now, according to people at the temple, the younger generation, there's a scene. I just don't know where to find it. It's everywhere. And that's the problem. It is everywhere. Back when we were kids, and even Manny remembers that MTV would play videos, and that's all we had. You just had MTV throwing at you videos, and that's what you watched, and that's what you bought, and stuff like that. And then you had radio too, and nobody really listens to the radio anymore. I don't think. I could be wrong, but
I was shocked that for years and years I listened to 95.9 The Fox out of Norwalk, Connecticut,
yeah,
and they recently changed their format, and it's talk radio now. And some people are really upset they no longer play the classic rock. They
yeah.
changed out of it. So you might be right and have an argument that maybe the classic music format is starting to erode.
Which is sad, and I mean, somebody's got to keep it alive. I think we're keeping it alive by doing these
Mm-hmm.
podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of podcasters are, thank God. Rick Beato, he's the master
Mm-hmm.
of classic rock and metal and stuff. So anyway, just my 2 cents on that. You want to jump right into the top 10, or you want to just talk about Zeppelin for a minute? Like, why do you guys like Led Zeppelin? Give me two reasons. Like, Manny, give me two reasons why you think Led Zeppelin. Why are we talking about Led Zeppelin? 50, is it 50 years? No, 53 years later.
Yeah. Well, I will say with before I mention like my 2 cents or two reasons. I think with rock music in this day and age, sadly, it's not that it's dying. The problem is that other forces are taking over. Like, for example, like the guitar solo. Don't get me wrong. There's still great guitarists out there.
Yeah,
I know you can't stand him, but Jack White is one of those few that is
you guys are
making
gonna
splashes.
haunt me, guy. You're gonna make me listen to him, and I'm gonna be like the president of his fan club.
Let's be honest. I think you're a secret fan.
I'm a fanboy.
Um, but it's so sad because even the guitar, and actually, this is like my first reason why Led Zeppelin, that the guitar solo. I think first of all, right now it's dead. Like there are guitars out there, and some artists do incorporate the guitar solo, but in popular music, because we need to remember that. And I think I speak for Joe and you because you grew up with Led Zeppelin's music. They were the popular music.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think for my two really quick, why Led Zeppelin first is, like you said, oh my goodness, no one sounds like them. I listen to their stuff, right? I'm 32 and I listen to like Led Zeppelin 1, 2, 3, 4, Houses of Holy, Physical Graffiti, 5 albums, and all of them they don't sound dated.
No.
They sound epic, gargantuan. Like they really like. I know they get a lot, and I get it. Like I know they get a lot of flack because they ripped off certain artists. They didn't give credit where credit was due. And don't get me wrong. Of course, that's wrong. But I will say they took rock music and they created that sound, that 1970s, arena rock sound that many other bands were already doing.
Yeah.
And the second reason why I would say why Led Zeppelin is all of them are so talented. I mean, Robert Plant. I mean, come on. Jimmy Page, guitar hero. Like, I'll be honest, it's him, Hendrix. I know I have to give a nod to Bloomfield.
Oh God.
All right. But I will say Jimmy Page is next level. I mean, he goes from like really intricate playing to beautiful riffs, like riffage. Yeah. Like it's kind of hard. I'm trying to explain it. John Paul Jones. Oh my goodness, the man's a genius with his bass playing.
Musical genius.
And then my favorite, and I think the soul of Led Zeppelin is John Bonham and his drumming. The power. I don't know what's his nickname, like his drumming style, but dude, I always say it's thunder. Like it's hard to describe.
Yeah, and the greatest singer and frontman. I mean,
Robert Plant.
And I read an article where Daltrey was always pissed at Plant because he thought that he stole his look. But it's like Daltrey had his own thing, swinging the microphone around and doing his thing. Plant had his own thing. He did not take from Daltrey. In my opinion. It might have had a similar look, but like completely different frontmen. And both, Daltrey, another genius frontman, one of my favorites. So Joe, you want to add? Well said, Manny. By the way, well said.
Two things I like about Zeppelin are that it's riff driven and they have a sense of urgency. And I think that the sense of urgency, I mean, the music, it just like, it comes out of the gate, just like unleash, like release the Kraken,
Yeah.
And it's all because I think of the rhythm section and in particular, John Bonham.
Yeah.
It's so powerful.
Oh, yeah. Well said. All right.
What's funny is, yes, I grew up with Zeppelin, but I was there when there was like a backlash against them with the advent of punk. Because I remember seeing the first videos, and they used to show them on the news of this new band called the Sex Pistols. And I remember I was in Florida visiting my grandparents, and the Sex Pistols were appearing at a small club in Atlanta, Georgia.
That's iconic.
They made the news, and it's just like
that was an iconic show. Yeah,
they were a manufactured band. We didn't know it at the time.
Right.
They really couldn't play their instruments very well, or did it purposely. They were like a sensation created by their manager. I think his name was Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah.
But people started to like have a backlash against Zeppelin and the Who and the excesses of the 70s.
Yeah.
And called them dinosaurs.
Johnny Rotten, that was his thing. He said that, that was dinosaur rock. But the punks, they hated it, because it was like an English thing, and not to give a spoiler alert, but in Presence, when I wrote the episode, I just bring up slightly. There were 3 things going on at that time: prog rock which was slowly dying, disco, which was booming, and punk rock. Those were the three things that were that a major arena rock band like Zeppelin was facing. Punk rock and disco.
Oh, and then we have to remember the alternative rock scene led by bands like Blondie and the Talking Heads. I
Mm-hmm.
love the Talking Heads. I thought they
See,
were really fun.
I put that all in as punk rock.
Yeah, Joe. So yeah, Cheech and I agree with Cheech. That's the punk, starting with the Ramones, the New York scene. Although, and I know in our show, Cheech, and I think we have a future punk episode for all our fans out there. We discussed like the New York scene and the English scene, which
And
it's kind of interesting.
there's a huge California scene, which
Right.
is the aftermath of punk, like Black Flag, 1980 era.
Right. Which had a direct influence on grunge later on, which we kind of discussed.
And like the CBGB scene is amazing because there's the first punk rock band ever is a band, and Joe knows them, I believe, Television.
Oh, I love Television.
Yeah,
Marquee Moon.
They came at it, CBGBs, and I think over in England, the greatest punk band is the Sex Pistols, no doubt. They're punk. Sid Vicious. Me and Manny have a love for Sid Vicious, so he is punk. He's the man. So
I always preferred the Clash.
oh yeah, well yeah, the Clash too. I mean, the Clash can play. That was the problem. The Clash, that was the problem.
No, and their greatest album, London Calling, sounds like a classic rock record. Like it doesn't sound punk at all.
Classic rock because they were so talented at their instruments and
right.
And then they got commercial with like Should I Stay or Should I Go? They were really smart. They got into that like when California rock got big and MTV blew up. Should I Stay or Should I Go? Rock the Casbah. The Clash became, what the Sex Pistols never would become. All these bands went away. The Damned, Television, they weren't as Talking Heads blew up, Blondie blew up, so the Ramones were phenomenal. I mean,
right.
Another one. So here we are talking about the lower end of music, and we're talking about the greatest band in the world, Led Zeppelin. Not that punk is low end, but musically it is.
No, but it's crazy. Joe's right, because by the time they release Physical Graffiti, I mean, I think that's their peak. And then they released, Presence, which we're going to talk about, and In Through the Outdoor. Punk was rising. And also, Joe is reminding me of the story when Pink Floyd released one of I think their greatest record, Animals. Also facing and dealing with the punk scene in England because Pink Floyd at that point were hated by the punks and the young people.
And not to give a spoiler alert, but, Presence is the lowest selling Zeppelin album ever. Why? One reason is it was rushed to be made, but that's not the reason. It came out in 1976. That's when punk blew up in New York, not yet in England. It was starting to blow up in England, but you had the Ramones, Television, Blondie, the Talking Heads. And then you had Casey and the Sunshine Band, and you had Earth, Wind, and Fire, Kool and the Gang, Stevie Wonder. You had the whole disco.
Yeah.
So they're facing that, and that's why Presence didn't do well. I think because the climate was changing musically.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun because in the mid '80s, when I lived in Manhattan, a lot of the shows that I went to were actually reggae, like at the Lone Star Cafe or on the pier. Like seeing a band like Steel Pulse or Ziggy Marley and the Wailers, or a guy named Yellowman. He was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, remember him? Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if that started with Clapton and I Shot the Sheriff, but the reggae scene was. And Marley, I guess, did Marley die around 1981 or 82?
That was a time period, yeah.
And he was so popular, and I'm sure his albums were still selling at that time, and I think it influenced a lot of people to pursue reggae music.
Oh yeah. Well, early, when you think about Madness or the what are they called? What are they called? The Toasters or something like that.
The Specials.
The Toasters. God, hit me in the head. I knew it. Specials. Madness. So there was that ska scene that was
Right,
flowing
right, which is
through.
my favorite. I love ska. And
Yeah.
do you two remember UB40?
Oh, I love you before you.
Remember?
It's a great
Oh, I'm
song, I
forgetting the
believe.
biggest one. What about the Police?
Oh,
Oh,
oh, gosh! And talk about, they were considered punks. Like, they were considered, right.
yeah,
Like, we'll talk about them in our punk episode, but
yeah.
also talented musicians.
They had that punk vibe, but they also had the reggae vibe.
Yeah.
Walking on the Moon. We talked about that in one of the episodes.
Hmm.
The bass line is total reggae. I mean, Sting is playing reggae bass lines.
I think they were critiqued as being sort of like the way Elvis took a lot of like the gospel, black blues.
Yeah,
Right, right.
The Police were blamed for kind of stealing the reggae.
Clapton was critiqued of that.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and you think about like the drummer in the Police, incredible. Stuart Copeland.
Copeland is
Ah,
insane.
oh my God, he was doing like Neil Peart kind of things underneath. Playing while playing. Great. It's great. It's like amazing.
Yeah, he
And,
put out an album. He did a soundtrack for a major film called Rumblefish that I
Jerry.
think Coppola directed, and like Matt Dillon was in it, and Mickey Rourke and Diane Lane.
Mm.
Great. I really loved the movie. It came out in the mid '80s, and he did the music for it, and it was incredible. It
Yeah,
was really really good. I have the soundtrack
I was
LP.
surprised in that he did all them. I didn't know he was like uh, a guy who multi instrumentalist too, besides playing the drums. Diane Lane, man, did I have a crush on her back in the day. The Outsiders, right? Is she in that one too?
Outsiders, Rumblefish. Yeah, great
Yeah,
stuff.
cool. So anyway, we talked about reggae, punk. Now we'll go to the featured band and our top 10 list. Joe, do you want to go first? But I'm gonna make some predictions. I'm gonna do the Nostradamus thing. I'm gonna say I don't think Stairway to Heaven might be on any of our lists. I don't think it's gonna be. It's too
No,
obvious.
not on mine.
And I don't think like the big like rock and roll is gonna be on our list. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't think the songs that are really popular, I don't think might not be on our list. Maybe because we've been so into Zeppelin lately that we've been really listening to the obscure stuff. We've been going through every song and every album for the past weeks now. So anyway, uh drum roll, Joe. Let's hear the top 10. You don't have to get into detail. You could just name them off. You could talk about it, whatever you want to do.
Okay, well, I did rank them from 10 to 1. So my
Mm.
number 10 is the Wonton song from Physical Graffiti. It's
Great.
a it's a very raw song, uh, great riff, great drums, Zeppelin at its peak, which
Yep.
brings me to number 9, which is the Rover, which was from side 1, the second song on Physical Graffiti.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's just like it's Zeppelin at their peak, and it was a great song to listen to like before soccer practice in high school.
Right.
And that would lead me on to number 8, which is Out on the Tiles from Led Zeppelin 3.
Yeah.
And I love Out on the Tiles, and it seems like a happy song. Plant
Yeah.
seems to be having a lot of fun singing it, and again, it's riff driven. Jimmy's at his best. The whole band is just at their best on that, and it just shows me that with Led Zeppelin 3, a lot of people dismissed it and said they didn't like it, that it didn't rock hard enough,
Yeah.
and I think this dispels that.
But
A
you
song like
got
Out on the Tiles, people should listen to it again.
you got the Immigrant Song, and you got Out on the Tiles. I mean,
Mhm.
heavy riffage,
Yeah.
right?
Then my number 7 is When the Levee Breaks from Led Zeppelin 4 with the classic
Powerful.
sound. Uh, Robert Plant plays a fantastic harmonica on it. People don't realize this, but Robert Plant only played our harmonica on 5 Led Zeppelin songs, and that
Mm-hmm.
was one of them. And he's great at it. Considering I've seen him in concert like a dozen times, I've only seen him take out the harmonica one time, and that was for an encore when they did a song called "Who Do You Love," uh, as a tribute to Bo Diddley, who had passed away like the week before the show that I
Right.
saw, and Plant just wailed on it. I'm like, does he not practice, or is this just like natural? You know, because he just took it
Yeah.
out and he just like goes wild. And then when the levee breaks between the drums, the harmonica, you know, it's just awesome. I almost didn't put it on because I didn't put some of the obvious songs on, especially the ones that may have been uh, where the band was accused of plagiarism, you know, copyright infringement, stealing lyrics, that sort
Right.
of thing. You know, but they do give credit on When the Levee Breaks to, I think it was Memphis Minnie. You
Yes.
know,
Yeah. You fact checked me on that. That's definitely. I remember.
yeah. So that brings me to number 6, which is the Rain Song from Houses of the Holy. You know,
Beautiful.
it's a beautiful
Mm.
ballad. It's just like it shows the band in a different way. And I know this is kind of naive, probably, but it shows how I think that it's kind of separated them from the Black Sabbaths and the Deep Purples of the world. You
That's a
know, it
good
showed them
point.
to be
That's a
multi-dimensional. You know, just a pretty song with songs, and you could tell that Robert Plant's lyrics. He was just growing as a lyricist. And that brings me to number 5, which is another kind of gentle song, 10 Years Gone
Yep.
from Physical Graffiti. And
Right.
Jimmy really shines on this one because he layers so many guitars on it. It was a very big challenge for him to play that live. Of course, what they did was they just gave John Paul Jones a triple neck guitar and gave him the
Right.
extra part.
I think it
You know,
was like 14 guitar tracks he used on that song.
it was incredible,
Yeah.
and it all works. And I
Yeah.
think Plant's lyrics are great, and it's kind of like if you went to your like 10-year high school reunion, and if you had a crush or a girlfriend from high school, that was 10 years gone. And I
Yeah.
think that song was when we discussed it, uh, it was that I think Robert Plant was given an ultimatum by a girl about
Yep.
either you choose the music or you choose me.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he chose the music on that one.
Smart man.
He did okay.
He did pretty good.
Yeah. Then number 4, I have "The Ocean" from Houses of the Holy,
Classic.
which
Classic.
is it's such a great song. It's phenomenal, and the band is just having so much fun with it. And it's one song I think that they actually did better live. If you see The Song Remains the Same
Oh
movie,
yeah. Yeah.
they take it an extra step because they're just having so much fun playing it. So that takes me down to number 3, "The Immigrant Song."
Oh.
There's that sense of urgency where they just and the wailing vocals. I mean, that's what grabbed me. Where
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been one of the first songs I heard on the radio because it's a short song.
Yeah.
And you know, telling a cousin of mine who was older than me, who the heck is that? And it's like, well, that's Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. And I think it's the pioneer. It's the blueprint for metal. It's like
Yeah.
Iron Maiden. Doug.
Geddy Lee was listening very closely
to the Immigrant Song.
to the vocals, the shrieking.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Geddy took a few notes from that.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm not even thinking of that. I'm thinking more of the Maiden too. Our
Oh.
two favorite bands, Maiden and Rush, are taken from the Immigrant Song. The dun da 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 dun da da da. Maiden took it and just made it dun
Mhm.
dun da da dun da da dun da da dun da, and Geddy Lee took that high pitched vocal, but
You're
added
not
it
going to see that
added
kind
it.
of vocal very many times anymore. I think the Robert Plants with it does not lead to a long career. You know, it's so hard to hit those notes.
Unless you're
Mhm.
Ian Gillan. I don't know what that man is made of, but the hitting note. Ian Gillan still does time. He could still sing. Like, I guess some people could still in there, or Rob Halford, for instance. Like, these guys could still hit those notes. I don't know, and I guess they didn't blow out their vocals, or they just are just blessed with good vocal cords.
Yeah, well, Rob Halford decided to just blow out my ears.
Oh
I
yeah.
was so
How
lucky to have seen that band in 1979 because they They played that show like their life depended on it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Loudest concert I've ever been to. But yeah, he was hitting the notes. It was a spectacle. Judas Priest. I'm like, holy cow.
You know who
It just,
doesn't get enough, um, recognition in Judas Priest? It's the bass player, Ian Hill. Ian Hill is the glue to that band. Everyone, KK Down and Glenn Tipton, they they started the twin guitar thing even before Thin Lizzy. Rob Halford with that voice, nobody sang like that. But Ian Hill is so steady and rock solid, like as a bass player. A lot of people might think he's boring, but he does a lot of cool shit. But he keeps it together. I always loved Ian Hill as a bass player. Just put that out there.
yeah.
Give the underdog some, because people aren't thinking about Ian Hill when they think about Judas Priest.
Which leads me to number two, which is Over the Hills and Far Away from Houses of the Holy. It's just one of my favorite songs. It always has been.
Yeah,
And that was the song we talked about where, George Harrison had talked with Jimmy Page and kind of like gave him some advice that the thing that, your band doesn't have is ballads. You should write
yeah,
some ballads. And I think that George Harrison put it in a way that maybe he thought Jimmy wasn't capable of writing a ballad. And
yeah.
Jimmy, it gave him the inspiration and motivation to write the song. And, Robert came up with some fantastic lyrics.
Amazing, amazing.
And that leads me to number one, which is Black Dog, which
Wow.
again, sense of urgency, riff driven, an unusual time signature that Cheech, as a musician, you would know or know how
Yeah,
to explain a little bit better than me, because it seems like the band musically with their instruments goes in three different directions at different times and then meets back. And of course, the one that's keeping it all together is Bonham. And it's just like,
yeah.
wow. Just,
It,
I never get tired of that song.
it's an odd riff. The riff almost you like when you're learning it individually. When you're learning it doesn't make sense. And then when you put it together with a band and God, you've got to have a good drummer. It makes so much sense. It's like, wow, holy cow, and you got to work hard at that song. That and Out on the Tiles, that riff too.
Yeah.
That's like you got to be in perfect sync with that. So
Of
those
course,
are
what's
great.
interesting about Black Dog is that it's a riff that was written by John Paul Jones. So one of my favorite Zeppelin song, the riff, is by the bass player.
Always by the bass player, Geezer. We don't get enough credit, you know.
Not enough
Steve
credit.
Harris, we're riff masters.
So with my choices, of course, I left off some of the classics.
If you want
Uh,
to,
and
you want zero, or you can go to zero or honorable mention, whatever you want to do. Or Buzz.
I
What's Buzz's favorite Zeppelin song? You got throw one.
well, the one that he would put as zero would be "Ramble On" from Led Zeppelin 2.
Great choice.
Which
That's
Jimmy Page has always said that that was a stepping stone for them. That
mhm.
that kind of song, the way it builds, uh, would eventually lead to a Stairway to Heaven.
I could see that. I mean, that song to me is brilliant because it has everything. It has everything. It has one of the greatest bass lines. That's a
Hmm.
melody. The guitar sound has these effects on it that are beautiful, and then the way Plant is singing and telling that story of Tolkien lyrics. It's very it takes you to a place. It's like reading a book. Ramble On's like reading a book, like a Tolkien book or something. Paints a picture. Oh, great choices, man.
Hmm.
Yeah, not the obvious stuff,
No.
like
No,
Oh, Joe, I noticed nothing from Led Zeppelin 1, huh?
yeah. If there was a double zero, it'd probably be Dazed and Confused.
I was going to say, where's Dazed and Confused?
I know, because that was kind of a favorite of all of us in high school.
wait,
Mm.
you wait, we could go negative into the UPT here. So
They get.
I mean, I left
no, you're
Cashmere
fired.
off.
You're fired. You went negative. You're fired. You went negative. Knock on wood for me. Anyway, But great. I mean, if there's any more, if you want to go, you know, 000. Yeah,
No, well, it's just that I left off, the Stairway to Heavens and the Cashmeres and the
Hmm.
Days to Confuse and the Whole Lot of Loves and the Achilles Last Band. And it's just
yeah.
like, what's wrong with me? And I'm like, because I've probably heard them. I was thinking to myself today, I mean, Stairway came out in 1971. Have I listened to Stairway to Heaven 500 times in my lifetime? Maybe,
Oh,
maybe.
definitely. Radio. You know, I mean, and it's something you always leave on when it's on the radio. You know, it's just
Absolutely. What I've noticed about songs like that, especially by Zeppelin, is that if you take 6 months off and you don't listen to Zeppelin, when you come back, it sounds so fresh.
it
Hmm.
does.
It sounds like it was released yesterday. It's timeless.
That's the genius of that band, and you know the Beatles too. I'm the same way. Like there'll be songs by the Beatles like that I haven't heard for years, and I'll hear it in the radio and go, "Oh my god, that's just amazing!" You know,
Hmm.
certain bands
Yeah.
have that. A lot of bands have that quality, especially from the '60s and '70s. You
But
know,
with Zeppelin, the only thing that really doesn't hold up with time, I think, is lyrically, the early blues type lyrics and, about a woman doing a guy wrong type of thing. I mean, it's just I think it's overplayed a bit. And I don't think it holds up historically to today. I
well,
mean, I guess the people
yeah,
I'm trying to get back to is like a Taylor Swift. If you go out with Taylor Swift and you break up with her, she's going to write a song about you.
I guess Taylor Swift is kind of that now, but she's not. She's not broken. I don't think like a blues man was broken by a woman. I think
Yeah.
and I actually have grown to kind of believe this, like Taylor Swift. I don't know what happened. I just I like I don't know. I gave her a chance and I watched a documentary on her and she's pretty impressive. Like what her performance is and stuff. She may have some competition this summer when she goes out on tour because Lady Gaga is doing a huge tour this summer. But yeah, I think.
Beyonce is going to be playing football stadiums.
Oh yeah, yeah. But like
You
for
know,
me, um, I think Lady Gaga I like the best. I've definitely seen the documentary and was pretty impressed with Taylor Swift. You know, I didn't know much about her and I was like bashing her a lot, but and she's so freaking hot too. I'm sorry, you know. So,
the
but
Eras movie that they put out in the theaters, I got to see it, and it's basically the entire like 3 hour performance, and it is mind blowing the effort that goes into that and the
yeah,
coordination, and there's choreography and all of that.
yeah. Well,
You
that goes
know,
with that style of music.
unbelievable.
But I think Taylor Swift isn't doing a blues thing. She's just maybe saying something like, you know, how a guy either she broke up with the guy or the guy broke up with her, but it's a little different, I think, than you know, like I lost my woman. You know what I mean? I think it's
Hmm.
more story, like that other girl since you've been gone. You know, like that kind.
My daughter-in-law is a Taylor Swift fan, I guess a Swiftie, and I
Yeah,
think next time I see her, I'm going to ask her because we're talking about Zeppelin, 50 years on. What Taylor Swift songs are we still going to be listening to in 50 years? What
that.
is their what is her Stairway to Heaven?
Yeah,
And
well, that
maybe she can give me a top five.
that's the problem with modern music, and I'm gonna say, and if Daquan is watching this too, like I'm coming from a positive spin. I don't want to. I'm not bashing, but maybe because I'm old. Beyonce, Lady Gaga may be remembered because she has some really good songs. I think, in my opinion, Lady Gaga, you know, Paparazzi. That's a great song, memorable. Um, but I don't think Taylor Swift and Beyonce are going to be remembered, opposed to Mariah Carey, Madonna, you know, those types of artists. Because I think because they're not played on a vehicle for everybody to hear it. And this goes back to my theory how important MTV is. MTV, would I have listened to Madonna, you know, when I was 16? No. But it was on my television and my little sister was listening to it and oh, she's a beautiful woman and I would watch it and the song stuck in your head. So you had that vehicle, and that's all you had. Now there's no vehicle. There's a million. The problem is there was a million vehicles: Instagram, Facebook. But you go on Instagram and you scroll up and up and up. It's like MTV a million times. And half of it is BS. So we were lucky and blessed to have one or two channels that played music.
And it's crazy. Lady Gaga was one of the final ones to take advantage of MTV, and Beyonce. Because you mentioned them, Lady Gaga was known for her look on the videos. I mean,
Oh yeah, Lady Gaga. Yeah, she was amazing. And like Daquan and I, he was gonna punch me one day, literally, because I said Destiny's Child I like better than Beyonce solo, and that's only because I don't know Beyonce solo stuff because Destiny's Child was all over MTV, and I really liked it. And then by the time she went solo, Beyonce, I think MTV was done with, or you know, but yeah, a lot of these newer artists won't be remembered. Because right, there's no Stairway to Heaven. Madonna will be. I mean, think of all the hits she had. That I could name 5 Madonna songs. I could name maybe 3 Lady Gaga songs, Mariah Carey songs. But Taylor Swift, I can't name. I can't name one. You know, but that's just, and that's not Taylor Swift's fault. I think for people like
no.
it's because there's too much out there. There's no vehicle.
Well, also you got to think about when Taylor, and this is from like a music writing perspective. I don't think her music holds up. It may hold up for sure. Like you may maybe in the future some I don't know 10-year-old another 10-year-old girl 15 years from now will discover a Taylor Swift song. But the reason why she writes for the young teen audience. Like if you listen, it'd be kind of great to analyze Taylor Swift lyrics one day, maybe in an episode, just to get a kick out of it,
Yeah.
because they come from a pretty much like a 14-year-old mind.
Right,
Like
right, right.
I don't know how to describe it. So I think because of that, she's talented. I'm not bashing her at all. And if anything, I'm astounded at her level of success that she has, and she's doing it. She's one of the last artists from because she's been singing since I think like 2008. Like she's
Yeah,
been,
been out
singing and
there.
doing her thing. But her music, sadly, because of who she's, catering to, and then going back to the breakup concepts, uh, the blues guys, which Zeppelin, and I agree with Joe. Today it might not hold up, but the blues guys, when their woman left them, they hit the bottle and wrote a blues song.
Yeah, that's what they did. Taylor Swift's
And
not
I think
doing.
that appeals more to men, while Taylor
Yeah,
Swift appeals more to the little teen crowd.
yeah. The younger generation. Um, but yeah, I don't think uh, 50 years from now, like when we're talking about Zeppelin, they're going to be talking about Taylor Swift, unfortunately, or
I mean,
anybody.
you can take a college class on her, Cheech, on her music.
I don't. I really. I mean, I had to look at her lyrics and just be like, is it worth it? And there's not a college class on Neil Peart's lyrics.
I know, I know.
Like
It's
this.
probably out there, but
I don't think so. I'm sure a brilliant professor talked about the trees or talked about Xanadu and brought it up to a student, but to have a class on her lyrics, like you said, I don't want to bash it, but um, I'm not a 14-year-old girl in 2025, so I don't know, but thank God. Like I say, I'm glad I grew up when I did, and I know Joe probably feels the same way. We were blessed. We were blessed, and Manny too. You got it too. You're later, but you got MTV, and I'm glad my kid got to see MTV. My kid would be 3 years old, running around watching. I'd have Headbangers Ball on. My kid would be flipping out to Pantera. So at least like my kid got some of that stuff. Where nowadays kids, I just feel like there's too much out there. You just scroll, scroll, scroll. Like We just had MTV, and then you had VH1. You know,
No, and they don't listen. Like, if anything, people have to teach the art of listening to music again, because
that sh- that should be a class. How to listen.
that's not a. I kind of do it in my whenever I get an opportunity to, you know, share music, but they don't listen because this is the TikTok generation, so they get like 5 second sound bites, and that's it. And that's how
Yeah,
songs get popular. At one point, ABBA's "Chiquitita" song was popular because of that last final piano line. You know which one
yeah,
I'm talking about?
yeah.
That became a TikTok anthem because um, the young generation were using that last part in their TikTok videos. And I tell them, you guys know that's an ABBA song, right? ABBA who?
Yeah,
Like,
you know,
what?
it's sad. It just said that I was blessed to have a music teacher that I would ask questions when I was very young. This guy Pat Hurley, and I would be like, well, Zeppelin, like whatever Zeppelin song it was. He's like, well, that goes back to Robert Johnson. Who's Robert Johnson? Well, he's a blues guy. Here, go to the library. So I would go backwards. Kids don't go backwards, especially in the rap community. And I know this firsthand at the
I
temple.
know we saw that. We recorded it. I mean, Joe will probably love this. We remember the hip hop episode. We noticed how we had a couple of young cats. We kept and one was respectful, but the other one was, and I think he represents the opinions of most of the young
They
generation. They were
knowledgeable guys, great guys on rap,
yeah.
and they and thank God they were on the show because they helped me learn about modern rap and
You
because
learn a
I
thing or two. You learn a thing or two of what's that hip
blues,
hop genre?
trap and mumble.
Mumble rap. But it's
Yes,
funny because they were blowing off Curtis Blow, Run DMC, and I'm like, oh, like, but they're the forefathers. I mean, Beastie Boys, and I get it, but again, but they're no offense, they. I mean,
without Curtis Blow and without D Nice and all these rappers that maybe aren't that popular,
and
there's
Sugar Hill Gang,
Sugar Hill
which I think
Gang,
he was dismissive of that too.
Run DMC. They're so important. Beastie Boys, they did give NWA credit, but like, I mean, all the '80s rap was like a joke, and that stuff is important, but it's just not their fault. It's the generation they live in. It's the 5 second generation. The swap swipe. Oh, that's a cool song. All right, you know what I mean. I'm glad I had a television with a remote control. I click on it. Channel 20 MTV. Remember it like it was yesterday. You know. And it was a big deal. Joe will probably remember, like when they had a premiere video. I mean, we all stayed home that night, and we watched. Like for instance, Thriller. It was a big deal. Home Sweet Home when Motley Crue put that out. You couldn't wait to watch it. Get your VCR ready. Everybody was psyched, watching it. Not anymore. Now I'll drop an album tomorrow. Potter's Field is just going to drop an album tomorrow, Manny. No promotion, nothing. Makes 0 sense to me. Promote your album months ahead of time. Iron Maiden will promote an album for a year before it came out. And now I guess, because it's instant gratification. Instant, you can buy it, on online, whatever, and that's how they do it. I don't know. Anyway, we're going off on a tangent here. So, but Joe, those were amazing picks.
Mm-hmm.
Any more feedback on Joe's picks? They were amazing.
No, I think they're solid, and yeah, definitely know of the obvious Led Zeppelin. You know, what you would find on a lot of great Led Zeppelin song lists, or even like greatest of all time lists. Like if you look at some of the greatest of all time lists, Stairway enters.
Oh
I think
yeah,
that's I think that's the. I'll be honest with you, that is the only one. There may be others, but I'm talking about like the greatest rock songs or greatest songs of all time. Stairway is usually top.
yeah. I think Stairway to Heaven is one of the greatest rock songs of all time. It
Mm-hmm.
might not be on our list, but you got to give it, what it is, But do you want to go next, or do you want me to go next?
Good, Cheech.
All right. Oh boy, oh boy. Let's see. Okay. Now I did mine sort of like about my history in my life, how Zeppelin influenced me as a person. Um and it like, goes through like my life pretty much, some of these songs. So my number 10 is Fool in the Rain.
Mm.
And why I like it, and that's off Into the Outdoor. It has a very interesting sound. There's a Brazilian tropical crazy dance section in the middle of it. It comes out of nowhere. It has a great solo where Jimmy Page is playing an octave pedal, which like it was unheard of. They used like an octave pedal back then. And it's about a person whose lover leaves them behind. And I actually had this happen to me in high school. I was after this girl. I was supposed to meet her. Her name was Nina, and it was raining, and I'm waiting for her. She never showed up. My friend picks me up, and what's playing in the car radio is "Fool in the Rain," and I'll never forget being like, "Oh, this song's about me right now." So I have like a memory attached to that song. Uh, the next one I like for the progginess of it, Achilles' Last Stand, off of Presence, which we'll do a show on, because it's prog rock. It's got great drums and bass. John Paul Jones, I'm going to be talking about him a lot on my picks. He uses an 8-string Olympic bass. The vocals are just amazing and mystical. The myth of Homer, the epic poem, the story of Achilles, and in his lyrics, Plant's lyrics they're just beautiful. You know. So number 8 is also off of Presence, Nobody's Fault But Mine. I just love that song. I love the groove. Once again, Blind Willie Johnson wrote it in 1927. And I think the bass and drums, if you listen to the hits that they do in about like maybe a minute in, are the greatest. Next to Spirit of the Rage, I think Rush did steal from this. One of the greatest rhythm hits ever. They're just phenomenal. Great harmonica solo in it. The lyrics are meaningful about Plant's, relationships and his addictions. Number 7, again, going back to my childhood, hearing this on AM radio, All of My Love, In Through the Outdoor. Now, I'm just getting personal with these songs. I just loved that song. It just made me feel a certain way. And it's a sad song. It's about Plant's son, Carrick, who died. It's just lyrics are sad. And the thing I always remember as a kid is I loved the keyboard solo. It's just a phenomenal keyboard solo in it. And I used to think it was called Autumn, My Love. And I would sing Autumn, My Love. My older cousin was like, Jack, it's all of my love, you know. So like Joe, I have Houses of the Holy, Over the Hills and Far Away. I remember as a kid at a slumber party hearing it on the radio, half asleep, waking up to that dreamy part in the song, and going like, oh, what Zeppelin song is this? This is such a brilliant song. Um, we bring it up a lot. I live for my dreams in a pocket full of gold. I love the funky bass line underneath the guitar solo. It's phenomenal. Number 5, Houses of the Holy. I just love the riff. I love the melody. I love the groove. It just has just a great song. Number 4, like Joe, the Immigrant Song. Being a historian, the two things I like about it is about the Vikings, because it gives you a history lesson of the Vikings, and it's the invention. I'm not going to rehash it, but we talked about it. It's the invention of heavy metal. that riff to me. Before that, what year was that, Joe? Zeppelin 3?
1970.
Yeah, so Sabbath was just coming out, and they were doing it too, but they weren't doing it like that kind of metal sound. That I think Zeppelin invented metal. Number 3, the Lemon song. I probably don't even have to tell you guys why. You know, One of the greatest bass lines taken from James Brown, James Jamerson, and Duck Dunn. That bluesy Delta blues vibe. Plant gets into that down home kind of blues vibe, like we talked about, like
Dang,
Taylor Swift
Cheech
does.
has left us.
Ramble On.
Which, are you still there?
2. Once
I'm still
again,
Uh-oh.
we talked about it earlier.
Cheech.
Am I
Uh-oh.
freezing
Hold on.
up
Let me
or
see if
no?
he's going back in.
Shit, I think I am.
See.
I'm back. I froze up, right? Manny, could you hear me?
This could be my great opportunity to talk about the Flaming Lips.
Wait, does Cheech not like the Flaming Lips?
Wait.
No, I love the Flaming
wait,
Lips, and
I
I've seen them 3 times in concert, and they're one of those bands that everyone should see one time in their lifetime.
I see.
No
And they
way.
just announced a tour for the summer with Modest Mouse.
Oh, I mean, I have to. You say the summer? Actually, maybe I take.
Yeah, they're going to be playing in New Haven, Connecticut. That's the closest they're coming to us.
No way. Let me write that down. Well, they're considered American psychedelic rock.
Very visual.
It's crazy because they were formed in 1983. I don't know why. I don't know why I thought they were like a 2000s band. That's interesting.
Wayne Coyne is my favorite frontman. He's my age.
Wow.
How could he be my favorite frontman? I mean, I've seen Jagger and Daltrey and Plant, but he's a really cool guy. Very enthusiastic. You laugh, cry at the show.
Wow.
So it looks like we're trying to get Cheech back.
Let me see. Let me text him.
He popped up for a second.
I saw him. His name is there. Can you get in?
I'm here. You don't see me?
Oh, now we do. What happened?
Wait, do you see me? Wait.
Yeah, but don't turn off your camera. Okay, now, yeah.
Okay. I've been seeing you guys the whole time. I don't know. I'm only in an hour, and usually we go 2 hours before this happens. But let me get my. Where did I leave? Where did I? Ramble On.
Lemon Song.
Okay, Lemon
You have
Song.
2 more to do.
Yeah, Lemon Song because of the bass line and the Delta blues. Ramble On because of the bass line carries the whole song. Great guitar solo, the Tolkien influenced lyrics, and number 1, The Rover. That's my favorite all-time Led Zeppelin. I love that song. For the history, for the intro, for everything in that song. So that's my top.
Cheech, it's kind of crazy. Your half of your list is it's from the new, well, not new, but the post. I think that's how you say post physical graffiti albums like Presence.
Well,
Enter the Outdoor.
I also have Good Times, Bad Times. If we're gonna go into the negative, so Good Times, Bad Times would be close to my number 1 because I just love that song. And then What Is and What Should Never Be, maybe my other ones. But I did it more from a personal point of view, just memories in my head of how I got introduced to Led Zeppelin and how, as a kid and a teenager, and waiting for this girl in the rain and like Fool in the Rain pops on the radio, just like these memories, So that's how I kind of did my top 10. So that's it.
That leads us to Manny.
All right. Any last minute comments on Cheech's list?
I can't believe that we only had 3 repeats: "Over the Hills from Far Away," "Immigrant Song," and "The Rover." Otherwise, it was
Yeah,
different songs.
that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of Led Zeppelin. It's like the
Yeah.
way, and Manny might be completely different. You never know. We might be.
Mine is completely different. And it's funny
Wow.
because I love how Cheech, your list is so Joe being the Led Zeppelin expert, I think his list is more definitive. Cheech, I love how you shared that your list is more um story based. And of
Yeah,
course Joe is because I knew you guys grew up with the band, but your definitely has like an emotional tie to it with some of these songs, which
yeah,
is awesome. I think
and
it's really
the
cool.
bass, and it's all bass driven. Like,
And being a bass player, right? Like Lemon
yeah,
Song, like great song. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong, but you're right. Instrumentally, it is amazing.
and
The
ramble
Lemon
on.
Song
Yeah.
and Ramble On, right? And that would be, and usually that would be you. That's the obvious pick, I think. Ramble On,
Oh yeah, yeah,
right? But it's great. Like that's your like Stairway to Heaven, or Um,
yeah.
so mine's interesting. So my list, no ranking. So I mean, technically, let put in a ranking. So mine list. So I'm kind of curious what you think, but okay. So number 10. I was like fighting 3 songs for this spot. Um, I'll tell you. I guess I'll do the 0, the 10. So it was a fight between Rock and Roll versus Misty Mountain Hop versus Trampled Underfoot. I went with Trampled Underfoot. I think Led Zeppelin could have released one of the greatest funk albums in another life had
Yeah.
they continued that dancing rock style, which I
Oh yeah.
realized I gravitated towards too.
There's a
Like
lot of them.
I love they're dancing rock and it's crazy. And then the other thing, I love what Joe said, the urgency, the roll licking songs. That's the other thing I also gravitate towards too. So you'll see a lot of those songs in my list. For Trampled Underfoot, I know the lyrics, it doesn't hold up. And there, some lyrics are a little, cringy. But dude, John Paul Jones, man, playing that. What's the instrument called, Cheech?
The clavinet.
Man, dude, it literally sounds like a Stevie Wonder song. And then
Yeah.
Plant
It
delivers
really.
his like best. I love his James Brown impersonations. Like
Yeah.
like Plant is a master impersonator where he can like take different styles and just go with it, which is
It's good.
awesome. Um, and Jimmy Page, that funky guitar riff. I mean, this was one of the first Led Zeppelin songs too, so I guess there's like a story thing to it. I
Yeah.
discovered the song in before I knew what physical graffiti was. I think I was in 11th grade or 10th, and it was on a list, and I forgot what it was. Put it on, and I immediately loved it. I was like, "Ooh, what's this?" Like it was like, "Wow!" But
Yeah.
see, I didn't know Led Zeppelin were a hard rock band. Like I was like, "Wow, this is interesting." You know, ooh, cool dinosaur rock. I was because at
Yeah.
that point I was listening to like 2000, 2011 music, the height of Lady Gaga, Kesha, rap too.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a fight, but Trampled Underfoot, number 9, In My Time of Dying. Okay,
Oh
I've
yeah.
been obsessed with this 11-minute song. And I think in another lifetime, Led Zeppelin could have released some sort of religious prog rock album had they,
Jesus
had
Christ.
the time. And
Yeah.
oh, dude, we were saying how Superstar is obviously before this, but dude, I feel like In My Time of Dying could have fit in the Superstar soundtrack
Yeah.
because, man, first of all, oh, I love Jimmy Page's slide guitar. I say this with so much love. It's so slimy, so like, man, it's like so dirty. Like it's amazing. And then Plant's vocals, like, and I think if I had to take a guess, and I could be wrong, Cheech. I mean, you're the musician. He might have improvised a lot of these sort of like vocal stylings.
He did. He did that a lot in the studio, especially on this era, the physical, because they were,
And it's
wrote
crazy
it.
because, God,
They wrote it in different studios, and they put things together. before that they would go in with songs written already, but I think they wrote a lot in the studio on the
Right.
spot later.
Right. No, and I think the reason why I say that is at the end of this 11-minute epic, Plant keeps going, and then you hear I think John Bonham cough, and he jokingly, in the song they leave it in. He says,
Yeah.
cough. Is that the one, Jimmy? Like,
Yeah. Love
it's great. And then, dude, John Bonham's drumming. Oh my goodness, like that's a song in itself. Like,
Yeah.
you're right. Like in songs like Black Dog, which I was, and you're the musical expert, Cheech. Yeah, I was like, man, someone's tying all this chaos together. It's John Bonham. Like,
Oh yeah.
same with In My Time of Dying. It's Bonham's like drumming, and it's its own instrument.
Oh yeah.
Which is
Definitely.
crazy. But that's In My Time of Dying, the 11-minute epic, which I love my 20-minute, 11-minute epic. So
Manny, have you seen the live video of it from Earl's Court? I'm sure it's on YouTube.
So I saw a snippet of it. So speaking about the TikTok generation, I saw a 20-second snippet of it, and I was blown away. So I have it saved in my YouTube. So now I'm gonna watch the whole thing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But I can only imagine. Yeah. Number 8. So this is the ranking. Number 8. So I have it all out of order, but I'm seeing number 8. That's okay. So this was a fight between That's the Way or the Rain Song, but I'm gonna pick That's the Way. I love my folk, rock, folk. You already know, like, Bob Dylan, Neil Young, Joni Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Way is just a beautiful song, and I love how vulnerable. I think, Joe, you said this. A lot of people think, well, rightfully so, they think of their hard rock, heavy metal, and yeah, for sure. But then Plant can do these beautiful vocals and Page's beautiful strumming. Like he doesn't get enough credit as being a great acoustic drummer, like acoustic guitarist. Yeah. So love the song. So that's gonna win. But it was versus the Rain Song, which the Rain Song is very similar, but at the same time very different. The Rain Song is an epic ballad. Well, That's the Way is a beautiful, like, it sounds like 1960s.
Yeah.
That's another one, Manny, that you gotta do the YouTube and look it up at Earl's Court, because Zeppelin was at the peak of their powers, and Plant's vocals on "That's the Way" live at Earl's Court is better than the record.
Wow! So I got to check that out. So I'm gonna YouTube like the whole concert. I'm gonna watch it. Okay, so that's number 8. Number 7, I'm gonna do Houses of the Holy, and I think Cheech I think who put Houses of the Holy? Was it you, Cheech?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, dude, just because of that guitar riff, I'm gonna try to like impersonate it, but it's like bam 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 bam. Like it's so amazing. I've been so addicted to that song, and then I love Plant's vocals.
Oh yeah.
Like he's I don't know, I could be wrong. He sounds like he's having fun, and then towards the end of the song, he reaches that Plant scream. Like, let me take you to the moon. Like, such a great song, and then
making it. Yeah.
Oh, dude! In another lifetime, perfect pop tune like that could have made to like I don't know, like top of the charts. But I love Houses of the Holy. 6, I'm gonna butcher this. Dyer Maker or Dwyer Maker or Jamaica.
Yeah.
Jamaica. And again, I get it. They're ripping off reggae. Like, I get it. Like, I know a lot of bands and like Eric Clapton got accused of, not giving credit where credit's due and ripping off, genres like reggae. But I'll be honest with you, Dyer Maker, something about the song I love so much. And in another lifetime, Zeppelin could have released a world record like Paul Simon did with Graceland, where they could have recorded with other musicians from around the world. Like can you imagine like Led Zeppelin collaborating with Bob Marley, for example, or something like that? I see the evidence in Dyer Maker, and it's all over in and out through the door, like that.
Um, that's like what I was saying about "Fool in the Rain." There's that tropical Brazilian like
Mm-hmm.
section in there. It comes out of nowhere. It's amazing, you know. And that's odd
Mm-hmm.
for Led Zeppelin. I mean, I don't know where that was probably John Paul Jones.
Yeah. So yeah, and I love Plant's vocals, which he sings his best impersonation of like Bob Marley or. I'll be honest, I think it works. And then I love Bonham's drumming. Like it's
Oh
funny because I don't know if Cheech you would agree or Joe. It doesn't fit the song, but it works.
yeah,
Bonham did not like reggae style drumming,
There we
so he
go.
had trouble with it. He had trouble making it original, and so it ends up being John Bonham's take on reggae, which makes it different, which to me makes the song work.
There we
But
go.
it's the one song on the album that John Paul Jones said that had they spent more time on it, it would have come out better. And I think he was kind of not making fun of Bonham, but just saying if John had been able to, capture the drumming style a little bit better, it would have been a better song. But it comes out as Zeppelin.
There we go. And it's funny, guys. See, I forgot about that, and we mentioned that too. You mentioned that or Cheech, but it works, and it's just a great pop tune. And again, in another lifetime, they could have recorded this. They could have recorded some sort of reggae album. Number 5, one of my personal favorites, "Dancing Days," and again, I'm a big fan of the roll licking tunes. Like they're like chugging.
yeah.
Kind of hard to describe. Like that. I love the guitar part in the beginning. It's so amazing, and Plant's vocals are once again like he has such range where he's able to go really soft and then to the Plant styling screams, and just a great song, an example of their dancing rock, which I love. 4 is going to be "What Is and Should Never Be,"
Great one.
which this has always been one of my favorite songs because of the sonics.
Yeah.
This is, and it's so strange because I'll be honest with you, it doesn't sound like a Led Zeppelin song. Like it's very jazzy. Like that's the best way I can describe it. Like I've always been obsessed with the sound, and Plant's vocals are.
The bass line's very jazzy.
Go ahead, Cheech.
His bass line's very jazzy.
Well, yeah, exactly, and I hear it, and I've always loved it since and Plant once again goes from that strange, and I think there's an effect on his voice. He goes very soft, and then hits you with the scream, like it's great. I think this is I love the song. Number 3, I know this wasn't Paige's favorite. Or never performed it live. "Living, Loving Maid," She's Just a Woman. And I go, lyrically, I know it's cringe, but man, does this song rock. Like, dude, coming off Heartbreaker and then hitting into this, one of the best sequences. It's just, in this song, I love the urgency. Down, 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 down. Like, I always picture this song live, and apparently I know Paige never performed it live. Am I right?
I don't
Never
think.
ever.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked because this song was meant to be played live. Like,
I know
that I'm shocked.
You wonder why they
I
didn't
know.
play. It's
Maybe
like,
Okay.
They're set.
Down by the Seaside too. They never played live.
It's another one. Yeah. And that's I'm not a musician, but that song seems very easy to play live in terms of like,
Yeah.
a great performance. So
Yeah.
shocked.
Well, bands do that,
2.
Like there
Go,
are
Cheech.
there's certain songs like even when I was in a band, Originals, other bands, you wouldn't play these songs, and you wonder why are we not playing these great songs? Maybe they don't vibe when you're playing them live. It just seem off. You know.
Yeah. No, you wonder, right? And I think we had a good discussion into Paige not liking the song. And again, lyrically I get it. It's a little cringe. But we kind of talked about what the song's about too, but which I had no idea. I just love the delivery, like the rock and roll swagger behind the song, which again I think it's an underrated one. Two, one of my really, really all-time favorites. I always obsessed with this song since I've heard it. Thanks to Joe, because I had to listen to Led Zeppelin 3 because unfortunately I was one of those where I just kind of skipped 3. I just listened to Immigrant Song and like that's it, you know. And I think a lot of rock music fans or first-time Led Zeppelin listeners do that. And it's funny because the way I discovered Immigrant Song was Jack Black's movie School of Rock. So I was aware of the song, very popular, and then I discovered it was on Led Zeppelin 3. But that's not my pick. But the reason why is because now, since I've been loving you, is I consider one of the greatest blues songs. Like I argue it's blues perfected.
Mm-hmm.
The song, I love it because first of all, that guitar, down, like it just once it hits that part, there's so much emotion. Plant's vocals are amazing, almost theatrical in a way.
Yeah.
Like I love it. You know, I've been working 9 to 5. Like he's soft, and then it builds and builds, and then Bonham's like intricate drumming. He drums in like in the right places, like down, 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 down. Like it's amazing.
It's good, man. Listen to T for One, right, Joe? We were talking about this.
Yeah.
T
Last
for
song on Present Side 2.
it's very reminiscent of Since I've Been Loving You. I think you'll like it.
And again, we're gonna talk about presents, so
Yeah.
I can't wait. T for One, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, number 2, Since I've Been Loving You, again, vocals. I'll be honest, it's like one of Led Zeppelin's peaks, and only on the 3rd album, like blues perfected. And then number 1, The Rover. And again, what I love when I listen to The Rover, oh my goodness. First of all, how does the song begin? Bonham's drumming. And then it hits you with that guitar riff that just doesn't let up. And then you hear John Paul Jones, like great bass line. And then Plant's vocals. I mean, it's crazy because, you know what, at first, I don't know if you guys would agree. His vocals on this song sound a little bit strange. Like I can't put my picture on it, but then the more times I listen to the song, I realize, man, this is like Led Zeppelin peak, roll licking. Like it has that dancing rock vibe. Yeah. The riff, like Page is just riffing. Yeah. And then the drumming, like it just doesn't let off. Gotcha. And I think it's another example similar to The Ocean. And The Ocean would be 0 on my list or my UPT. The Ocean came very close, but The Rover, great lyrics, concept, and Plant delivers his, again, I can't put my finger on his vocals, but they're definitely not as bombastic as in like Stairway to Heaven. Maybe understated is the word I want to use. Like it's strange. Like, I don't know what you guys feel about that, but that's my number 1, The Rover. Love it.
It's funny. It's funny we have the same one.
I think we talked about it because remember Bob Dylan's song, most likely You Go Your Way and You'll Go Mine. Yeah. I love those rock, and we talked about this. I love those rock songs where they're just roll licking, like they just go, like they're meant to be played on stage, like. And this one is just, you know.
But yeah, The Rover.
They
never played The Rover live. Another song.
Which is, for me, if that's true, that's mind-boggling. Because that song was meant to be played live.
They did it, but they didn't do it the way it should have been played. They did it like little bits of it with a drum solo.
it's crazy because the song begins with that great solo, like dun, 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 bam, bam, wah, 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 and it just doesn't let up. It just keeps going. So again, I'm shocked. Like that song was meant to be played live.
Yeah.
It's and then it's a perfect song. So number one for now. I mean, this could change, but for this list, for the Cheech and Manny Music Podcast, the People's Podcast list.
Yeah. We did it,
Oh, you're gonna notice I didn't put Stairway. I didn't put Moby Dick. I didn't. None of us put Whole Lot of Love, which usually that makes top lists for many. Cashmere. I didn't put Cashmere.
What else? I'm trying to think.
Cashmere is like bone crunching. It's a hypnotic riff that goes over and over and over.
Yeah.
No, it definitely sticks with you.
Yeah.
Did I tell the funny story on a previous epi about what happened with Cashmere in concert?
No, I don't think so.
John Paul Jones was responsible for giving the cue so that the band could finish the song, and John Paul Jones missed the cue, so the band had to keep circling around because it's so hypnotic and repetitive. And it kind of, according to Robert Plant, the song came to a crashing halt. But it was one of the funny moments in Zeppelin. Was because John Paul Jones missed giving a cue to the rest of the band. It just collapsed.
Is that on video? I wonder.
You're freezing up on me, Cheech.
Joe, yes, is that on YouTube video? Is it like a YouTube video on that?
No, I read it in a magazine where we're actually, Robert Plant was just talking about some of the funny moments in Zeppelin.
Oh.
Yeah, when they, just humorous type of things that happened with the band.
Yeah. And speaking of Cashmere, I have a hot take on that song. Don't get me wrong, I love Cashmere, but I feel like it goes too long. Maybe I shouldn't talk because I love In My Time of Dying, which that kind of goes, maybe you could argue goes too long. But it's funny because I could see that John Paul Jones needs to cue them. All right, guys, we're done here. He'll just keep going.
And it's
which is very Eastern.
Cashmere is a radio song, and it's long.
Yeah, on the classic rock circuits. Yeah.
Well, you know what the DJs would use the long songs to do? If they needed a bathroom break or a smoke break, they put on Stairway to Heaven or some other long song like Cashmere.
There we go.
Yeah, if they just needed, to get out of the studio for a few minutes.
Oh, they'll put on Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do The Desire with Bob Dylan. It's going to be fun.
Oh, man. We're going to have to talk about the Rolling Thunder Review documentary. Cheech, you should, if you have Netflix, it's on Netflix.
Oh, I got to check that out. That's a Desire album?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same time period. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I got to write. I think we're going to do the basement tapes first. Or no, we'll come. Blood on the Tracks is before the basement tapes.
Actually, basement tapes was 75. I'm trying to remember when Blood the Tracks came out. Because I know Desire was the last one, so I think Blood on the Tracks came out before the tapes.
Okay, so we'll probably do
I don't know. In fact, check me on that.
We'll probably do Blood on the Tracks and then the basement tapes because I'm going to skip over. There's two other ones after Nashville Skyline that they're okay. I'll talk about them, but I think
okay.
Yeah. But this was a great show, guys. This was a great show. Getting our top 10 songs in there.
A lot of different songs. We didn't have very many repeats at all.
No.
I think Manny's take on different songs is quite interesting and maybe borderline controversial.
Oh no. So just for disclaimer for any fans out there, yeah, I know I may get hate, and I have my own reasons why I would mine would be very controversial because especially I did not put some of the in fact you guys none. I know, Joe, you put Black Dog, which I'll be honest with you, that's a great pick, and that's definitely one of their popular songs. And I know and Cheech is interesting because you put a lot of their back catalog stuff, like
Yeah.
like their post physical graffiti albums, which is interesting. Like I like that stuff, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite.
Well, I did
But
it
you put
more.
on Jamaica and Live and Love and Me.
And
That's
My
controversial.
mine
that
came
very controversial.
mine came more from like my memories, of my life,
Hmm.
opposed to like like picking my favorite songs. That's how I chose to do it. But
And it's crazy. None of us picked going to California. That's usually another popular one.
no, no. Um, when the levee breaks,
And
Joe.
then Cheech, yours was less. And Cheech, yours was less folky. Like you didn't pick any folk tracks. I think.
I thought about if we're gonna go into UPT -0 or 11. I would say Tangerine. I like. That's not folky. It is kind of folky, but I'm not a huge fan of the folky Zeppelin stuff. To be honest, I would always skip over it. You know what I mean? I was more
Mm-hmm.
in rocky stuff. Um, I love it though. I love this. I love the folky stuff. But so great job, guys. I wrote Presents, and that'll be the next one that we'll do, and that's a very interesting album. And we're gonna just keep plowing through all the Zeppelin albums until there's no more, and we'll conquer another band because Joe is a part of the Cheech and
We'll hit
Manny.
until we hit Coda,
Yeah, yeah.
the Led Zeppelin hour.
And then
Oh,
and then
maybe you know what we should call it? The custard pie special.
yeah, I want to
Oh, by the way, custard pie was gonna make it to my top 5. Custard pie, I love that song.
great song.
Maybe another controversial pick.
I definitely want to go past Coda and do the Firm and Robert Plant first album and compare
Yeah,
the
post
because
that.
they're both
Yeah.
post. That's important. That's very. I think it's very important.
Well, that's a great idea. Like a comparison, like maybe, um, well, yeah, the Firm versus Plant solo stuff. Because
Yeah,
Plant, I know he went very diverse
he did.
after Zeppelin broke up.
He
Yeah,
did. I
yeah.
kept my shirt a secret today,
Uh-oh. There you go.
but
Right.
Shaken and Stirred, 1985,
Wow. That's
Wow.
when he
amazing.
had shorter hair. But it's
Yeah.
yeah, Robert.
I guess Cheech, that's his Rush like 1985's era. But like,
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
Robert Plant's Caress of
Right.
Steel period.
That was the haircut. That was the haircut. Geddy Lee had the mullet.
He almost lost his audience. He was getting really out there. He was doing some really different music, and people were not getting it. I thought it sounded pretty cool, and yeah, that was the summer he did Live Aid, 1985,
mhm.
Right.
with Zeppelin reunion.
And that's a topic, obviously not now, but I want to bring up on maybe we can do a whole episode on that topic of Live Aid, of why so many people
Oh,
say
I would love to.
how it was a failure. Some people say it wasn't. Was it Phil Collins' fault? Tony Thompson's fault? That whole thing. I would love to get into that.
Well, we can do an episode on like the highlights of the Live Aid concert, that included.
Oh yeah. Well, for Live Aid, I mean, Queen's got to take it. I think.
I was gonna say we'll start there. We'll start with the greatest, and then maybe like greatest to like worst moments. That could be one of the worst moments.
Yeah, that's a good topic. Yeah.
I have to defend my boy Collins, though. I have to defend my boy Phil Collins.
Well, originally, I think Robert Plant asked Phil Collins if he could perform and wanted Phil Collins to play the drums for him and just have his band, his solo band. And there was no thought of a Zeppelin reunion. It should have just stopped at that. I don't know who made the decision to call Jimmy Page.
I wonder if it was Bob Geldof. I feel like that's a Bob Geldof move.
Probably. I think so.
That sounds like a Bob Geldof move.
They just didn't have enough time to get it together.
They
Right.
did rehearse though. They had a rehearsal with Tony Thompson. I know.
I don't know.
I mean, but
Cheech is
anyway,
freezing up.
Yeah, I think it's that time. It's that time, gentlemen.
that time by. But thank you, Joe.
We call it the spirit of Robert Johnson. Wait, Cheech. The spirit of Robert Johnson is coming to haunt us.
Reagan. So great job, Joe. Thanks for being on the show. Great picks, you guys. Another amazing Zeppelin show, and I look forward to doing Presents. And thank you guys for doing this.
That was fun. Thanks, Cheech. Manny, great.
Thanks. All right, guys.
That was amazing. Great picks. I know we had.
Yeah, we had some great picks. I'm gonna
All right.
go.
Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night. I'm gonna go before
I know. Be careful. They'll get taken by Reagan. Careful.
I'll try not to.
Have that Jesus pick near you.
Right here.
All right, gentlemen. This has been the Cheech and Manny Music Podcast, joined by Mr. Joe Silkman. Good night.
Good night. Good night.